Mistakes you're making when texting while dating. It could be a first date. It could be multiple dates.
Squid, here, pay attention.
Pay attention. And if, even if you're married, everyone has friends that are like, oh my gosh, dating is hard, and they don't know what's going wrong. Maybe you can help them with this. For example, if you text, are we still on before a date? That's a bad thing. Why do you think that is so?
Insecure.
It gives them a chance to back out.
Both. Yes. Both. You're exactly right. The backing out is the biggest one. It almost lets them know, well, if you, it's okay for you if you
totally
you commit and then just totally drop out of the
you should just be like, I'll pick you up at 8. What time am I picking you up?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're already
or see you at 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said the best way, and this is according to a dating expert and also like a psychologist. He says, try something like, hey, I'm really excited for tomorrow night. What time were you thinking? That's why boom.
Let me ask you, Squid, when you set up a date, let's say per se, you're on a dating site, and then you start talking to the girl. Have you experienced a lot of girls all of a sudden just back out of the blue or just ghost you and this and that going on?
Yes, yeah. But I would say more times than not, we at least go on at least a date.
Really?
And then after that, they'll ghost me because I guess they meet me and realize that I'm
That sucks too. I don't know. That's almost worse in some ways.
Yeah.
But no, it happens.
But I think a lot of it is just I think part of it is like the social anxiety that comes with just being behind a phone nowadays. When it actually comes to hanging out. And so I have had like girls, we talk about it and then they back out or keep making excuses and back out.
There's got to be something to that then, because think about in person, it's just so different, right? But now but it's easy to hide behind the phone
with everything
it's easy.
Do.
And then sometimes it gives you time to think about it, and you didn't have to meet them. So now you all of a sudden the anxiety of having to meet the person when you only met on the phone. I can see a lot of girls backing out. I also think, in my opinion, living through Squid, is that when he does the dating, that sometimes women don't really understand it and all of a sudden just want the validation that Squid actually does maybe want to go on a date with them. And once they get that, it almost satisfies them. Like, oh, I got what I wanted.
Yeah,
right, I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why you have to play these manipulating games.
Yeah. I'm against Jason on some of these manipulation things, but I think when it comes to some dating stuff, some of it is correct.
Thank you. I'm proud of that.
Definitely.
I do think some of the being too nice. I mean, the stuff that you think you should be as like a decent human. So when we're like, how should I not be a decent human? Jason. No, but seriously, like the fact you have to play games is ridiculous to me.
But it is
There's
true.
a psychology to it.
Yeah, I'll say that the majority of women who have like ghosted me or just, canceled plans is when I've showed them too much attention.
Yeah.
Like I say I'm too into them. I've complimented them too much. Being
and it
too
should
nice.
be the opposite. It should be the opposite.
They say that's what they want. Women, what's wrong with you? Call us. What's going on here?
And back to the manipulation, and I do think that is true. It's like I always said when I was, before I was married or anything, after realizing, like, wait a minute, if you give them too many compliments, if you're too nice, if you go out of your way for them, which you would think that somebody would want, it actually completely backfires. So I started making it a policy that I'm not going to be nice to my dates. And it works. It worked. Now, I don't want to be like a complete, but you got to keep them on their toes. You got to keep them wondering. It's like I'm famous for this one. I would go into a bar, especially with a smoking hot girl, and she knows she's smoking hot. Right? Most guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're smoking hot, right? I would say, like, you are the third hottest person here. And they would be shocked because they never hear
funny,
that.
And it's also like a dig.
Yeah, I would say, well, that girl maybe theirs. It's close. Then me, then you. Is that not true, Jared?
No, I think that's true. I wish it weren't true. Because I think the way you're taught is to treat a woman, with decency, and you're taught to whatever, and then women, you think they want you to be all about them, but then when you are, they're not interested.
Yes, it's weird.
And they're like, hey,
yeah.
Like I'm thinking about if I were ever to be single again, I think I'm going to come up with some sort of like prison record.
What? Yeah. To make yourself seem like a bad.
A face tattoo that I can take on and off for dates.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, he's a bad boy.
I mean,
really
even if you think my wife, Carol, it's like, we connected in the limo, but I feel if I tried to contact her right away after we went somewhere, that she probably would be backed away.
Yeah.
She probably wishes that I did that now, so she could have backed me. But you see,
you're
and
right.
I think with love comes in, Squid. This is where love comes in. You got to watch out for this because eventually you get married and all things go to hell after
Watch out for love.
Oh my God. Love comes in when all of a sudden, this is so true, it's when the other person least expects that they would ever be attracted into somebody like that.
Right.
Because it's so mysterious. It's
Right.
so I would never be in because in their mind, even if they haven't thought about it, they probably would never be into a guy that shaves his head that's a white rapper that talks that says likes a billion times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And has skinny legs, right?
And,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
all
yeah.
of
All of a sudden,
from SpongeBob, yeah.
there's something about you she's into.
Yes.
And then they start thinking to myself, there's no, why am I into this? I don't understand. And it becomes mysterious and it becomes interesting then it goes on. And then once that happens and they don't play games anymore, they want to do whatever it takes to hang out with you. That's where the love comes in. And then you'll do anything in your life. You'll look like a fool. You will look like a fool in front of your friends. You will look like you would give up your job. You would take any risk possible for that person.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later after marriage, you're like, oh my God.
They hate you and you don't like
How
them.
are these habits that I liked about that person horrible?
Yeah, that is so weird about the human condition.
Yeah.
And I maybe in friendships too, but I think especially in romantic relationships, the things that you love about them the most, at least when it comes on the men's side. Oh, Jason's so funny, or Jared's so funny, or Matt's or whatever. Then they're like, you can joke around all the time? You're like, I thought it was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
If you took the conversation at the beginning, like with her friend, she'd probably like, oh, and he's so funny. He makes these jokes that I laugh all the time. And now it's like, all he does is joke all the time.
Right. Doesn't take anything seriously.
What? though? Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying that. It's just the way
Or
human
I can
nature.
see with Squid, maybe somebody get with you. Maybe your rap career takes off a little bit more. Somebody would get with you because they like you, but they're like, oh, I like that he's a rapper and he's got a career and he's excited. And then when you're married, it'll be like, you need to stop rapping. I don't like you going on concerts. I don't like you going on tour. Trust me.
That sounds about
And
right.
it's not
It
just
happened to
women.
Woody. I mean, it happened to Kevin Costner. It can happen to you.
It's not just women. Let's be fair. Guys can
Guys do it
sometimes
too. Oh, there's some horrible
Yeah.
dudes out there. All right, another sign that you're making a mistake. Texting, this is during dating. You're not communicating enough. It's so tricky.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game.
And I think we had something recently where they said, like a psychologist said, try to match whatever they're doing. If they're sending long texts, send a somewhat long text back. If they're using emojis, use some emojis back. Or that's at least a sign they like you more if they're actually matching your. But if you're sending something and it's like, K, which I do, with friends and stuff, or cool, then you're like, or they're not answering at all. But it's a turnoff for a lot of people if you're not communicating enough. Or then the other side, you're texting too much before
it's a
first
game.
date.
Yeah.
It's a game. Unless you go out and find the one that is really having some emotional issues. It's true. It's true.
Oh my God.
Matt, you want to leave this conversation?
This is insane.
It's true, Matt. I mean, if all of a sudden she just got out of a bad relationship, things down on her luck, things aren't going well, she's more vulnerable. She's more apt to take a chance because she has nothing else.
Yeah. There's probably some truth to that.
I think everything y'all have said up until this point is true if you're looking for someone to just hook up with.
Okay.
But if you're looking for somebody to be in a long-term relationship, the games get thrown out the door.
They do
Because you have to be your 100% self, and if there's something wrong with it, then move on. It's not meant to be. Move on. Don't worry about it.
But I think to
You're right
get
about
to that point sometimes where all of a sudden it clicks where, wait a minute, I am into this guy, then there's no games. There is a little bit of something at first sometimes.
Yeah. Well, like Matt is, and I think Jason was alluding to it earlier, this is the dating part where it's this kind of game that you're playing, this dance in a way. Then you fall in love, and then the games have to go away. Otherwise, what are you doing? And the dating expert says there needs to be some mystery before
There
your
it
date.
is. I just said
You
mysterious.
did. Mystery. They're like, what is about this guy or this girl? They're not telling them everything.
What
about
trauma does she have?
Yeah.
what can I exploit about this person?
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes along, too, with, if you're too complimentary or too, like showing too much towards that girl. Like nowadays, especially in the girl's DM, she's getting that nonstop all the time.
And
So when you do that less, it's a little mysterious to her. She's like, oh, why is he being like,
And then you want to really mess them up a little bit? you tell them that their big fat friend is smoking hot. And they're like, what? Wait, what about me?
Yeah. I hate that there's games.
And then they tell that friend, and now you're dating the friend.
You're like, what have I
Well,
done?
it's funny. If I read this book about the direct vouch and indirect vouchers and stuff like that. But it also, what it does is too, when you're not totally into them, and you can give them a compliment once in a while, but when you're not totally into them, it shows that you're confident too.
Right.
Like you don't, your whole life doesn't have to surround this one girl. Even deep down inside, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to try to get her pregnant. She's so hot. I just want to
All right. Other things. when you're dating.
Don't tell them you want to get them pregnant.
Don't say it. Just keep that inside.
Yeah, Squid,
Yes.
remember that. And
Dang
then-
it! I gotta scratch that one out of my.
delete, delete.
She shows up to the date like, I want to impregnate you.
Yeah.
No, wait, come back. No, don't say that. My bad. If you never call out ghosting, this is interesting. We just had a study recently that said ghosting is here to stay for many different reasons. I think the phone makes us all cowards or whatever. But they say you should call it out. I mean, it's going to be over at this point. But they said you stand up for yourself because if you don't, it's going to keep happening. But you
Oh,
can
it's
just
gonna,
say,
what do you mean it's going to keep happening? It's going to always keep happening. Somebody can ghost no matter what. So what's the point of saying something back to that person to stand up for yourself if they're not going to be there anyways?
well, he was saying they could be doing it like not intentionally, maybe like they just kind of disappeared for a minute, and then you can say, hey, it seems like you're not interested. In the future, if you do want to talk, I would expect a little more consideration.
Okay.
Leave
Yeah.
the door open.
And then it might also be like, oh, this person's standing up for themselves, and maybe
That's
subconscious.
true. Maybe just say like, hey, it seems like you're not interested. That's cool. If you change your mind,
Yeah,
hit me up.
yeah, and then ignore them, and then Squid post pictures of you on a date with someone that's better looking.
One of her friends. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And also like Jay said, the big girl too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
yeah.
all-
Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't reply to rejection text. The date, I mean, you're not gonna be dating this person, but they're like, hey, we went out, I had a good time. At least they're doing this part, and they're like, but I don't see any this going any further than this, or we could just be friends. And you just don't respond. They said that's just poor form.
I've done that my whole life. I don't know why. I don't know. Me and Squid talked about this at lunch the other day. Remember? I was like, "Oh, how do you tell a girl? You actually go and tell her?" You're like, "Yeah, you do." Like Squid really does go to the girl and say, "Hey, I don't think it's working out." Blah blah blah. Just whatever. I just don't see the need in the time. I just don't like it. I don't like. I feel bad for the person. That type of thing. And trust me, a lot of times I'll just do something anyways, but they're the ones that's ghosting or leaving me.
Well, they said this, and also back to the one about not calling out the ghosting. At least you're giving yourself closure, because people don't like to wonder, wait, like Katie, when she's told this story before, where she's out today, but she was telling a story. There's a guy that actually worked here. She's really into him. They were hanging out all the time, and then he didn't work here anymore. But she thought like her cell phone coverage was off. She thought towers were broken by his house. I mean, because he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like they were hot and heavy for a few weeks, and then they worked together, disappeared. And so until she saw him at a grocery store, it's like, oh, he's alive. But you know what I'm saying? So give someone closure, like, hey, I really enjoyed that. I'm not looking for anything. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, Matt, man kisser of the Mats. When you started dating, your wife,
Yeah.
when did you know that you were in love with her? Like that she's the one?
When was the first time I told her I loved her? Is that the?
Well, no, because sometimes you don't say it if you think it. So in your
Okay.
mind, how quick? Because I will say this: a lot of times, the love part is actually quicker than you think.
Yeah. It was within a month.
Within a month.
Yeah.
See?
And I
Quick.
think I told her like right at 1 month is when I told her.
Yeah. Wow. You said it first?
Yes, I did.
What'd she
Is it
say?
in the middle of
She,
sex?
it was right before.
Yep. Yep. I knew it.
And she did say it back. Yeah. It wasn't like a thank you. I didn't get that.
Oh, that's the worst.
That would be terrible.
You're the sweetest.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Oh, really? That's great.
So I think Carol and I think she said she loved me over and over during the first, after 3 weeks. She might say that I said it first. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it was like 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks is short, but
Yeah,
it's
it's very
similar
short.
to what Matt is.
Yeah.
So I think you have this overwhelming sense of emotion and connection and
Yes.
everything else. And that is what we think is love. Unfortunately, it's not.
Right.
It's just the lust, and the true love is after the, 2 years?
Yeah, true. I mean, can you truly love someone before that? Yes, but the true, tried and tested love is once the honeymoon period is over.
Yeah.
Because then literally your physiology changes. This is scientific.
Yeah.
Where you actually have a physiological change where you feel different
Yeah.
about the person. Both of you do. And that's when people say, oh, there's something wrong. Oh, you're not the person I thought I was going to be with. You're not exactly what I... No, that's normal. And if you love someone after that, that's true love.
Yeah, that's normal. And the thing is,
normal.
if you think about it, and any person, I know for a fact, Carol is probably like this too. She might not admit it, but I think anybody is after being married for a long time. I think also you start thinking, like you said, what's wrong? Why is it different? Well, you know what I'm saying?
It's not like it used to be.
It
It will never be that way.
It never will be. And people, I think this was what gets people into trouble in marriages and relationships like that, is they miss that feeling of lust.
Yeah.
You miss the feeling of lust that will only last a couple years. You know
Max.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right.
And just for reference, you see these people on Facebook, Instagram, and everything else posting these over the top. It's our anniversary, or it's this and that. Those are the ones to me that are having the most trouble sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I've
I think they
noticed.
stand out more if something bad happens because
Well,
they've been
there
more
was
public.
I just read about that too. That it was actually a there were some marriage counselors that were talking about people who do that online.
Yeah.
And they're trying to. It's almost like a force trying to make up for it and let the world know.
That could be.
And,
Yeah.
and it's not the person that is truly in love. It doesn't bother them, or do they not care as much to have to do? They know what they got. They don't have to show everybody else on social
I can
media
see
what
that.
it is.
I don't have a problem with people do it on anniversaries and birthdays because that's kind of like their
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta celebrate them. But
Yeah.
if it's like constant and all
It's
the time,
constant.
you're
I'm
kind
talking
of
the
like,
ones that are constant, like
oh yeah,
every few
they're
weeks.
the greatest person I've ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it could be.
I mean, because I know Matt and his wife do it a lot, but it's not over the top.
it's
I don't
usually
think.
like birthdays
Yeah.
or anniversaries or something special going
And she
on.
does it way more than I do, just because I don't think about it.
Or like they just ate at Sir Pizza and it's like, he's the greatest. He got me my favorite pizza. I love him.
That salad bar was so banging.
He knows how to get to my heart. But yeah, so good luck out there, Squid, and others that are dating. You're gonna need it.
I'm well aware.
You're gonna need it. Oh, Squid did say something that I think is very true that men don't relate to, is the fact that women's DMs are full.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I think men are coming from a place of like their experience, like their DMs are empty.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they think, oh well, her DM. I mean, you probably even think that like I'm the only person talking to this person.
Yeah, sometimes like if you think that you're crazy, you're ludicrous. Like if you
Yeah.
think the girl you're messaging is only messaging you back, you're
Right.
crazy. You're crazy.
Right. When
But
before,
unless it's committed, like you're in a relationship already. But
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
a new girl, you're just
yeah,
talking.
you're just talking. There's nothing wrong with talking to multiple people if you're not in a relationship. But it's just
Mhm.
like, I think we're coming from a place like my DMs are empty,
Mm-hmm.
and so hers. We don't think, oh, she's been hit on by 50 dudes today.
Yeah.
And you're just the next dude, like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God, I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy. I'd rather do laundry than go on a date.